Yeah. I think that, the Muslim community are very structured and they look after their own, and um, uh,
In fact,
but
maybe it's not even worth focusing on, because if we look at
this, yeah,
what have the Muslim community done to our girls? Is what they've done to the Jewish community going to be on the same level? Probably not.
but that, to be a devout Muslim, you don't drink, you don't do this kind of thing. They just these men, that they are acting in a tribal way according to their own gene pools. And before we had all the Asians arriving, we had the Caribbeans, and they were doing the same thing. That is what men will do when they come into a new culture, a different culture from their own. Then they will go after the women, because it's nature and it's part of, they want to improve their gene pool, getting a DNA upgrade, so to speak. That is what they do. Is that a bit over did I cross the line there?
Oh, I have no idea what the limit is. I mean, we might have to put this one on dark mode afterwards, but I've been surprisingly all right so far. I don't have a clue what gets you nuked and what doesn't at this point. That's
Exactly.
my place.
And we heard Nick Griffin, didn't we, before, while he was still an MEP, we heard Nick Griffin say that, the BNP, they'd been offered endless funding by Zionists, but the conditions were that he had to stop talking about the banking industry and just concentrate on the Muslim problem. It's part of the Zionist ideology that it's, they want to create division between different sections of society. That's what shocked me the most when I came back to Britain, after realizing while I was living in Egypt that, I could never live in a Muslim country. I've got to go back to my own country. Look at London.
And then what's happened?
And
Shit.
then, seeing the counter-jihadist movement, because I was telling Shazia as well, that I've never been a friend of theirs and they've never been a friend of mine.
Nope.
Yeah, you get my drift.
I do.
I've got loads of good friends who are converts. Reverts. All you're doing as a revert, as somebody with a moral conscience, you are submitting to the law of God and trying to be a good and moral, ethical person. And of course, if you're dealing drugs, if you're raping kids, then you're not. And that's for anybody, any creed, color, whatever. You're not. A ridiculous amount of Muslim women are white, and it's a religion. There are plenty of white Muslims in Georgia, places like Georgia, Eastern Europe, Bosnia. My daughter's class, they had a lot of Albanians, and they were all Muslims. Syrian. There was a girl interviewed on the TV in some refugee camp the other day, and she had, she's blue-eyed and ginger-haired. So it's not quite the same problem. Tommy Robinson go on about Muslim and Islam all day, but what about Africans? Does he not see a problem there too? I'm not saying that there is, and I'm not condoning any kind of violence or racism.
No, we're actually pointing out violence here. That's really what's going on.
So does he not see any problem there?
I mean, no one cares what he thinks right now. I think he's kicked to the dust
gangs,
for good.
Yeah, the drug gangs, the knife crimes, Muslim women and the veil and all this. Well, it's up to Muslim women. If they want to change it, then that's how white women got in the feminist stuff, isn't it? One threw herself in front of the king's horse. That's how liberal Western women did it. I'm not saying that it was a good thing in the end, but if that's what we can't decide what's good for another group of people. They have to decide what's good for them, and they're a very structured community. The women have more children than we do. They will have extended families where the wives can still go out to work, but their children are looked after by members of the family.
Here, because we had someone say, "Is this woman a Muslim apologist?" And I'd say, "No, I think she's a Muslim realist. I think you're describing how they act." And you know, I'm in the camp that it's like the people that go around going, "Oh, Islam's a death cult and it needs to be destroyed or the world will never be free." I think that's absolutely ridiculous.
One example, you know, these grooming gangs.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there is an issue. I don't think we can deny there is an issue in gangs in the Pakistani community. But as me and you will know, and maybe Tommy chooses to ignore it, which is that these people who are involved in such depravities, seriously, these people who are involved in such depravities, they are not religious types. You know that, my friend.
No.
So to somehow, just because someone belongs to a certain faith, to sort of pick up a criminal activity of theirs and say, "Oh, they're Islamists," it's it's just foolishness. What do you say about that?
Yeah, that's all taken out of proportion. There's nothing Islamic about these chaps, criminals, I should say.
Yes.
They're criminals. That's how they should be treated.
Who should face the full force of the law, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Islam has got nothing to do with it. Nothing. Just because their identity is Islamic, or they've got Muslim names, doesn't mean they're Muslim. It's like saying James or John could be more likely to be atheist, away from Christianity. Those are Christian names. The name doesn't make you a Muslim. Definitely not. So just by their behaviours, they're just paedophiles, in my opinion. They should be locked up.
Yes.
And the media should show this, that these are criminals. They've got nothing to do with Islam. And in any criminal activity, religion should not even come into it, because it's not sanctioned by religion, this type of behaviour. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think the issue here is where the Orthodox religion doesn't even allow you to have a extramarital or relationship outside of marriage.
Yeah.
To say somehow that these people who are going around abusing people sexually and otherwise are somehow inspired by and trying to fulfill an Islamic purpose, it's just deliberately dishonest and a very foolish and immature thing to say,
I think so.
Friday is a holy day for Muslims, with hundreds of thousands gathering for the midday prayer. But today, imams at 500 mosques will deliver the same message, speaking out against child abuse.
Grooming young children for sex and exploitation of our children sexually is totally unacceptable. We must do everything possible to protect our children, preserve their dignity and honor, preserve their innocence, and keep them safe in our houses, in our streets, and in our neighborhood.
Were you involved in any sexual activities with anyone with any girl knowing they were under 13 years of age?
Today's sermons are a response to several high-profile cases involving Muslims over recent months in Oxfordshire, Rochdale, Derby and Telford. Just yesterday, these men were jailed for their parts in a sadistic sex ring abusing girls as young as 11 in Oxford.
If you even think about committing the sort of sexual atrocities that we've seen in this case, then think again. Look over your shoulder and keep looking over your shoulder.
Gang grooming by all races is seen as a growing problem. A report by the Children's Commissioner found more than 16,000 children were identified as at risk of sexual exploitation, and just over 2,400 were confirmed as victims.
As a collective community, we need to say, what have we done wrong in 21st century world where our children are being attacked, targeted, groomed and sexually exploited by not just a few, but a large number of people, whether they're Muslims, Christians, Hindus, Sikhs or any other with faith or no faith, it makes no difference.
So as communities gather to pray, it's hoped today's message will help to expose offenders and protect others from becoming victims.